I'm good, Bob. How are you doing?
Good. I'll tell you a story later tonight. You'll laugh. Your thoughts on Evander Kane being moved to the Vancouver Canucks? Edmonton gets some cap space and a fourth rounder back. Give me your assessment.
Yeah, I think a lot of us were kind of expecting the possibility this could happen. Bob, someone as plugged in as you are, I don't think it's a surprise at all. We knew they had to create cap room. And I really felt that there would be a market for Kane based on the way he played in the playoffs. I know it ended badly in the Stanley Cup final. That went off the rails a little bit, but for the first three rounds, once he returned, he was a really effective player. And I think the other thing that really appealed to some teams that were interested was that he next year is a contract year. He's got to have a big year, and his NHL future depends on it. And if you're going to take that gamble, this is when you take the gamble. And I think Vancouver was willing to do that.
I'm 100% convinced he'll earn an extension in Vancouver. Knowing the player, I believe that's going to happen.
I don't know. I'm no oracle. I'm not so good at predicting the future. But it wouldn't that's the thing is he knows that he needs to have a big year to get that.
So the Oilers shaved down a little bit of cap space. Stan Bowman, Jeff Jackson in Toronto earlier this week. Stan for less than 48 hours because he's with the Oilers scouts over at Oilers HQ. You're down in Los Angeles. By the way, it's interesting. Does this pretty much mean that Brock Besser is not going to be re-signing with the Vancouver Canucks?
I don't think that was going to be happening anyway.
Okay.
I was not expecting that. And, you guys still have business. I think, I think the Arvidsson, I think the Oilers and Arvidsson are working together to find something out there. I think Connor Brown, that one sounds like it could depend on term. He signed a couple of one-year deals that have worked out well for both him and the Oilers, but, I think he'd like to get some terms, so we'll see about that one. There's Corey Perry. We'll see about that one. I think Kapanen, I've heard there's a possibility that there's a deal there for him in Edmonton. I know that a couple of the teams said to me that they thought he was staying. We'll see about some of your other players. I also think there's a real desire to try to get Bouchard done this week. So we'll see where that goes.
Lawton was on yesterday, and he thought that, if Bouchard's not signed by July 1st, Edmonton could end up getting an offer sheet for the second consecutive year. Go ahead.
Here's the thing about the offer sheets, and it depends on the team, but I will say this, Bob, there is a real nervousness out there about putting the Gavin McKenna first-rounder in offer sheets. I've had a bunch of teams tell me now that you do not want to throw away the first-round pick that becomes Gavin McKenna. And unless you're absolutely certain about how good you are, I think teams are going to be really careful. Now, it could all be BS. People could just be this is the week for all this stuff.
Yep.
But I have legitimately heard there is a real fear of losing that number one, Gavin McKenna pick in an offer sheet. I've had a few teams tell me that.
All right. So it's been reported, and we've got you and Pierre coming up back-to-back here, but multiple reports, obviously. Stan Bowman in for less than 48 hours in Toronto. He took care of some business on the McDavid and Bouchard fronts. Certainly in the case of Bouchard, what makes the most sense to me probably is a 4-year term at a number that a lot of fans, the Bouchard haters, are not going to like, but that's going to be the cost of doing business.
Well, the thing is, he's arbitration eligible, right? So, and then if you're doing 4 years, you're buying up UFA years too, right?
It's going to cost
what do you think that number is going to be? That's the thing. I was talking about this with someone today, actually, and they were saying that even if you do a short-term deal with Bouchard, you could be looking at $10 million.
Yep.
So, or close to it. So, that's the thing. An 8-year deal might even be higher, but it would be. We'll find this all out when it's over. But it would be really interesting because someone was saying to me, how much do you think you're really saving on a short-term deal? Now, maybe there's a difference between, say, for argument's sake, we were spitballing. 10 and 11, right? Or something like that. But even if you do a short-term deal, because you're dealing with arbitration and his counting stats are excellent, and you're dealing with unrestricted free agency and his number would be high, it's not, I mean, you'll be saving a little bit, but you might not be saving as much as you think. Like, this isn't a guy who's signing for 4 times 8, I don't think.
From NHL Hockey and Rogers, Elliotte Friedman Bob Stauffer with you on Oilers Now. All right, the Board of Governors meeting took place today. Got a rundown from Gary Bettman and Deputy Commissioner Bill Daly. What did they say, Elliotte?
Well, I think the thing is, it's pretty clear we're getting close on the CBA. He said that they gave them a pretty substantial breakdown in the negotiation and the progress, where things stand, but nothing is done yet. Other than that, there's no time. There wasn't anything really huge, I would say. But it sounds like we're getting pretty close to the CBA. I did ask about the whole Evander Kane thing, and at this point in time, the NHL, they said they don't have a timeline of when they'll decide if they're going to go further on this or not.
Yeah.
But it just stands there right now, and what the issue is, that January surgery.
Yeah, for a tumor. And a procedure that was done there. All right, let's get to, we have the draft decentralized. Are we going to go back to a regular draft in a year from now?
I think so. I believe so. Now, Bettman is playing his usual, we didn't want this, the managers want this, and we'll have a vote after the season. But I think we're going back to the other draft. Thank God, Bob. This was a bad decision.
Is it completely different with all the GMs there? What do you think?
Yeah, it feels really different. It absolutely does. Usually the Board of Governors meeting is different because they usually do the Board of Governors meeting in New York, and then you go to wherever the draft is. So this doesn't feel too much different, but normally everybody's here by now, right? It's Wednesday and everybody's here, and all the prospects are here, and they're meeting with the teams. It's definitely different. I don't like it. I this was something that was unique about our sport, the only one that had the draft all together, and I do think something has been lost by blowing that up.
All right, let's go to some of the key potential free agents out there. Mitch Marner. Are we looking at Las Vegas, and how much would Carolina or Chicago or Columbus like to get in on Marner?
I'm sure a lot of teams would. I'll say this. So, Vegas signed Riley Smith today. There's a lot going on around them, I think. Pietrangelo, we think, is going to at least start next year on LTIR. There's been a lot of rumors about them. That wild one the other day about Hurdle, I don't know what to make of that. There's been rumors about Barbashev. There's been rumors about Carlson. I would be very surprised if Carlson got dealt. It doesn't make sense to me from what I know how they think of him. But I think there's a lot of it. I think that the key names this week with Marner, and also everybody's worried about tampering charges. But I think Vegas. I think, to me, the most interesting stealth team here is Dallas. And the reason I think that is because players Vegas is a place that players want to play. Dallas is a place that players want to play. I don't know what to make of LA. I think Anaheim's got the room to do it. I'd be very curious to see what they would do. I think Utah's had interest. I just don't know how interested he is in them. Carolina's the one. They could make the biggest offer.
Yes.
But Bob, and I've been consistent about this, is that I'm not convinced. The word on Marner is that if he's going to go, he's going to go west. So we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
You mentioned LA. Is it possible they're one of the teams in on Besser?
Yes. The thing is, Marner's kind of like the big fish.
Right.
And then there's the trade guys.
And there's Ehlers and Besser and guys like that.
Yes. Now, Ehlers, I think there's some teams out there, I think Carolina's very serious for Ehlers. But I think some teams could go for him anywhere. Like Besser, I think is going to be a really interesting one because I think there's a lot of teams poking around on him, and a lot of them have like sort of different interests. I think there's some teams that are kind of like shorter term. I think there's some teams like San Jose that need to hit the floor. Like, I think Besser's going to have some options here. I understand why you say LA. There's a lot of teams that think LA is a good fit for Besser because of the pace that they play at. But I think I think LA's got a few irons in the fire. Like I've had people say to me, like, don't be surprised if they're interested in like a Raquel or a Rust or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think there's a few things LA could be doing. Like I've thought that like a lot of people that Gavrikov might be Ranger bound, but apparently there's some teams have indicated that they haven't given up trying to sign him. So the Gavrikov decision could play a big role for that.
Besides Jake Allen, who's the best bet to move in goal? Has the time come on Gibson?
I'll say this: Anaheim wants to make the playoffs next year. And I had a team tell me that Verbeek is comfortable going in this season with Dostal and Gibson the year he wants to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So he thinks that, yeah, exactly. Like, if you're trying to make the playoffs, you can do a hell of a lot worse than that. I wondered about Demko, but it sounds like the Canucks have made progress with him on an extension. So we'll see what happens there with Demko now. There's less certainty, I think, that he gets moved. So that's another name. I haven't heard a lot about Swayman, but
right.
he's just another name I keep in mind. But I haven't heard as much about him lately. Like, in addition to you guys, Bob, and I'll say this, like, there's another team that people think, the other teams that apparently are looking at goaltending. Utah, I root for the best for Connor Ingram. He had a really rough year last year, and I think Utah is looking for another goalie. And I'll never get anything out of this team, but I've had people tell me that they think Detroit is very serious about goaltending.
Yeah, Detroit's an interesting team. Do they move out Tarasenko and maybe take somebody else that Todd McClellan has history with? Who's to say? All right. Elliotte, as always, we much appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy Los Angeles. JW Marriott?
First of all, you're not supposed to say what hotel you're staying at, but no, I'm near it. I can see it, but I'm not in it.
Okay, well, what I would say to you is I never say what hotel we're at, but we're not there. So there you have it.
Good stuff, buddy.
All right, thanks, man. Take care.
Take care. All right.